We're outside the bingo hall with Councillor Justin Towndale in beautiful downtown Cornwall, Ontario. Councillor Towndale, you came down and you didn't just do the photo op, you actually volunteered for TAG, the Cornwall Art Gallery, tonight for our bingo, which is our only real source of income right now. So on behalf of TAG, we want to thank you. And any surprises?
No. I mean, it's a good fundraising event. Good people in attendance. Yeah.
And
those are traditions. So
a lot of the volunteers who are artists themselves were very impressed to see you come out. What motivated you to take a night off from your very busy schedule to donate it to the art gallery?
Well, to be honest, Jamie, you asked me to come out and participate in an event for a community group, and that's what I'm here to do as a council. To be honest, I see that as part of my job. So you sent me an invitation, I was free, and I decided to come out. And it also gave me a chance to meet some of those artists that you mentioned who are involved with the gallery.
Now, this year was a real aberration. City Council and the Budget Committee decided to slash TAG's funding to zero for the balance of 2015. Did you support that action?
I abstained during the first vote, and sorry, excuse me. At the time, I was conflicted. I have commented on that, so to save time and not repeat myself, I made my comments at that time. However, when we did find out that another event was not going forward, we did try. Maurice DePel put forward a motion. I seconded it to try and allocate some of that funding to the TAG. Unfortunately, we were not successful at that time.
Yep.
And that's where we stand today in terms of funding.
How important do you personally feel that a public art gallery is to a community, especially with the economic tourism impact and, of course, helping our younger artists develop?
Well, I think I'll broaden that to any sort of arts endeavor is definitely important to the community because it is the fabric. It's part of the culture, excuse me again. It's something that does need encouragement and support. I think that TAG does provide a vital role in the community and something that council should help to support. When it comes to any group asking for funding, I do believe that other sources are necessary. That's my personal belief. I do believe that City Council can provide some assistance. But at the end of the day, I don't believe we should fully fund anything 100%.
Right.
That's where I'm coming from. So, we're there to help as much as we can, but I do encourage any group to also seek funding from other organizations.
But a public art gallery, which is at the heart of art in a community, it's an important and vital service that does things that simply don't raise a lot of money. And if it's serving the local community, shouldn't that funding come from the local community?
From the local community? Do you mean like from the city or the community?
Well, the city, the business community. I mean, you shouldn't rely on Trillium grants or outside grants. It should come from within the community, which mostly would be coming from the city.
Ideally. I mean, again, I think it's a combination of different funding avenues. I think the city's there to provide some funding. I think businesses in the community are there to provide some funding. I think individuals who have the means are also there to provide funding as well. So I think it's a team effort.
All right. This is your first year on council. You're about 6-7 months in?
6 months from our inauguration, just passed a couple days ago.
So is it everything you hoped for and more?
So far, yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I do love the work. I have the political bug in me, and I tell people.
Have you learned a lot in these first 6 months?
There's definitely a learning curve. I mean, the budget process was a big learning curve. It's something that you can't be taught that. It's not something you can learn. It's something you have to go through. I'm hoping that our next one will be, say, quicker, smoother, maybe easier for myself and the other. I won't speak on behalf of other councillors, but I'm sure the other rookie councillors found it a bit trying as I did. There
have been a number of controversies we won't delve into in detail this first 6 months. Has that changed the way you view things? Or, I mean, they don't teach you to see some of these issues, the type of issues that come up.
I mean, I'll be honest, I think you get this at any political level, in any place, any city, any province, any country. So it's going to happen. And, this is the initial shock, but, we can't let it distract us from the work at hand, whatever might be coming up. We need to make sure that City Council is effective in what we do. So, it kind of is what it is. It comes with the job, and the best thing is to move forward as best we can. If we get too tied up in it, we'll start spinning our wheels a little bit. So,
do you have any pet projects for the balance of this year that you'd like to see move forward in council?
There are a few things I'm working on. I have to be fair. I'm going to just hold those closer to my chest for the time being. There's a few people I need to reach out to first before I put them forward. So I'd rather not comment on them right now. Long term, there's a few things I'm looking at. One thing I wanted to see was potentially a skating rink in Lammer Park. That was part of my platform. In speaking with some residents, there's an expansion of that idea to maybe on the canal itself.
You're talking about ice skating now?
Yes, ice skating in the winter. Because right now Lammer Park in the winter, I would say, is underused.
Yeah.
And my hope was to create some sort of traffic in the park similar to Nathan Phillips Square in Toronto, and get an ice surface in there that can be used in the winter free of charge. It's not necessarily meant for shinny or pickup hockey or anything like that, but it'd be just a place to skate, and then it would also create kind of foot traffic in the downtown core.
Valleyfield has a really, really pretty park in its core, and the normal walking path is what they flood. So it's just, you can just skate around the park. It's not a sheet, it's just a surface.
That's an interesting idea, something to look at. I've never been to that park, so obviously I don't know.
Oh, it's stunning. It's beautifully lit up and trees, and there's benches because it's already parked. Right. So it's just flooding the paths.
It's something to look at. I mean, it depends how feasible it is, obviously. I mean, what I'm looking at, because in the summer it would act as a reflecting pool and just a place to kind of gather. Obviously, I don't want to take up too much of the green space in Lammer Park, but at the same time, I do want to create places for people to congregate, and preferably closer to Pitt Street, in my opinion. I mean, there's a variety of options to look at. I mentioned the canal earlier. If that's feasible, if you can do that in winter with the ice flows the way the ice freezes, and if the current's not too strong, I think that's a very good, viable possibility that could work very well for the city. But these are things to look at. Those are longer-term projects, and to be honest with you, when you're looking at something like that, say the ice sheet in Lammer Park, the problem is, if we want to get funding from other levels of government, because we'll need the help to do it, we do need consultant reports, because that's what they want. The government will say, do you have a report that we can look at? And those cost money in and of themselves. So before I get anything started, I'd have to come to council with a proposal for a funding for a study. And that's something I need to look at, because I don't know what the cost of that would be. So for time being, this year, after our budget process, maybe let that sit for a little bit. But there will be federal funding coming up in 2017 for the 150th anniversary of Canada. It'd be very nice to tap into some of that money right there. So that's my hope, to maybe get that going, just to see if we can qualify, because that would obviously help us. That's what we're looking at now. Again, there's a few other things I'd like to look at. Some of it's more rudimentary. I mentioned this before publicly. Expenses, we need some guidelines, we need some rules, and I'd like to see them posted more frequently. Right now, we're only obligated to do it once a year. City of Toronto does it quarterly. I'd like to do that. From my experience, when I worked at the province, we did it. Well, quite frankly, as soon as the expenses came in, they're reviewed, and eventually they go up on the website. So I like to see it as it go up. But
more transparency, more accountability?
Yes.
Do you think that's been lacking in Cornwall?
Well, I think it's just a different way of doing business. I mean, I have to be honest, as you know, I was away for 12 years, so I have missed a lot. I won't deny that fact, So, I think there are things we can do differently. I think there's more information we could provide readily. Some of it's there, but it's not congregated in one spot. I'd like to see that. Some of it is that. And you'll see me kind of moving towards that maybe in the near future. Cool. And it's just kind of getting it out there in one place to look at instead of having people to look through it through packages, documents. Just trying to make it easier to find. I think that's the bigger thing.
All right. Well, thank you for the time, and thank you for volunteering for TAG.
My pleasure.